What's up, everybody? We have an awesome show lined up today. I have several different updates on what's going on. What a crazy, crazy week. ETH POW, ETH W going on, ETH F going on. How is the LP? How is the liquidity for both of those, right? When we look at HEX, HEX is paired with other things. How is that stacking up? Is it equal liquidity on both of these? Because that can give us an idea of like what the market is doing, right? What is the HEX community as a market doing to implement either on ETHW or ETHF, right? We want to understand what is actually going on so we can be ahead of those people. Now, another update. What is going on with HSIs, right? Because again, HSIs have a direct impact on ICOSA. They're also going to have a direct impact on Hedron, and they're going to have an indirect impact on HEX. So what's going on with those? This is the thing that I should be tracking this in the future. What is the difference between the HSIs that are sold to ICOSA, right, on mainnet, ETHW, and ETHF? Because all the front ends for all these work. So is it different on these front ends? Because that's going to create a different ecosystem slightly in each one of those places. Then we're going to take a look at the adoption of HEX versus Hedron. Right, this is going to be on mainnet because it's going to be different on these other chains as well. We also have somebody on CNBC talking about billions. I think it's the CEO of Pantra, I think is how it said, where he said billions of people in crypto. If you have been following me for a while, you know that I actually estimate in 2027, we're going to be over half of the world in crypto. With current growth rates, you can see that we're at 3.5% of the world population in crypto, according to crypto.com. Every technology follows an adoption curve, and we're at the point where it starts to get bananas. So pay attention to that. Lastly, we have a video on the take. What is mainstream media talking about when it comes to the Fed hike yesterday, right? So we're going to see what David Rubenstein actually has to say about this, because there's the legacy people who are controlling hundreds of billions of dollars, and understanding how they think can help give us an understanding of how things might be influenced or impact in the crypto space, crypto going forward. Let's say hi to the chat really quick. We got the dude, Chris, what's Gucci? General Shaka, what's up, guys? Poor man's investing. Hey, what's up? You're not gonna be poor forever, bro. Keep investing and you'll go in amazing places. Anton Del Sol, hello, hello. Warden U, I like the name, and the gains. PDC, hello. Torin, how you doing? Unsuitable, good morning, good morning. I saw your message on Twitter. I got to learn how to do that. Self-sufficient human, hello, hello. Sweaty, blockchains are social consensus. Yes, this next couple of years is going to be bananas. Cyberlock, hello, hello. AJ, great to see you as always. Big GC, how you doing? Poor man. So let's get into this. We're going to start off with some DeFi proof, and we'll be back in about a minute.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking no blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that just in case. GymRatCrypto sent me to show you the way. DeFi proof, yeah. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
Yo, what's good? I see Crypto Profeta in the house. What's up, man? Flat Earth, how you doing? So just share this out on Twitter. Do me a Gucci one and jump over to Twitter, press this link, and retweet this over on Twitter so we can get this information out to more people. If you guys have been enjoying the show recently, we've covered the breaking news of ETF, ETW, which we're going to start with the update on those two things. What do you guys, for everybody in the chat, have you guys been over there yet? Have you looked at your free tokens? Have you bought really cheap HEX with your free tokens? Did you bring in new money? Did you take money out? Let me know what you guys are doing. I'm curious to see what the consensus of the people who are watching this are doing here. ETHW, ETF, right? Fair. When I think about these two things, I want to know, is there development happening on them? Is there adoption happening on them? And is there liquidity, right? So how do I gauge adoption? By liquidity. How can I gauge development? I don't have a good metric for gauging development at this moment in time. Does that mean that there couldn't be some type of metric in the future, right? We look at like profit in a business. You're looking at net income in a business, cash flow in a business to understand how maybe a business is doing, right? How is cash flow doing this quarter relative to last quarter, this year relative to last year? How do you do that on a blockchain level, right? Are you looking at TLV? Is the TLV going up? Are the number of users on that actual chain going up? I want to hear your suggestions. What are some things that we can take a look at so that we're ahead of everybody else in this community? Sell HEX, what's good? Thanks, Sam. You were welcome. I bought a shitload of everything everywhere. The dude, hell yes. I have a boatload on both sides. I have more on ETHW than I do on ETH, I believe. AJ, I got some HEX Hedron with new ETHW, no free yet. Haven't connected my main wallet yet. If you watched yesterday's, we went through how you can actually take your main wallet, just set up your RPC settings in your main wallet. This way you don't have to do anything with it. Once you load your main wallet RPC settings, all you're doing is just connecting to that network. You're not doing anything. Once you connect to the network, you can take your contract address from Etherscan and load it into your main wallet. So all you're doing is you have MetaMask on Ethereum mainnet. You're going and adding a new network. So now it would just be like adding Arbitrum or adding Optimus or Binance or any other network, right? That's all you're doing. Nothing happens. You're not touching any network or dApps. I'm sorry, you're not touching any dApps or giving access to anything. Once you've touched your wallet and created these other ones, then you load those contract addresses in. So what does that mean? So say HEX, Icosa, Hedron, Maxi, etc. Whatever you had in your wallet, go to Etherscan, search HEX. The contract address will come up. You can take the contract address and you can plug that into the MetaMask so you can load these tokens on ETHW and on ETH. Once you have done this, right, you're still not connecting to any dApps. You're still not connecting to bridges. You're still not telling anybody they have access to that wallet in any way, shape, or form. You're literally just loading it on another network. Once you go through and do that, then you can create another MetaMask, another wallet, completely separate address where you can go in and send. So you got a new seed phrase, all that kind of stuff. Or you could use the same one, just create another account. But assuming you say create another seed phrase, you've loaded RPC settings, you've loaded or imported the contract addresses for the tokens you had in your wallet on the new network, whether it's ETHW or ETH. Once you go through and do that, then you can, and created your new wallet, you can send that to your new wallet, right? So if you're not comfortable interacting with anything in your main wallet, even though it's on a different network, you can do it that way. And that way you still get to play with your free tokens over there. So hopefully that's helpful, brother. Let's take a look at some more of these. Divine, good morning. Marine, anyone else have issues with WETF, not loading when adding to MetaMask. Do you mean ETH-W or do you mean ETF? Or do you mean with both of those? If you go to, let me pull this up real quick. I think it's uniswap.hedron.pro. So this is the front end that was created by Alex, right? Alex is the guy behind, pull this up here. So you'll be able to see this here. It's not going to show you the appropriate network, right? So it doesn't show me ETH POW up here. So what I have to do is I connect my wallet, right? And then say wrong network. Please connect to a supported network in the drop-down menu in your wallet. So what you need to do is you're going to click on your MetaMask logo here. Let this thing load. And then once you're in here, you're going to come down here and you're going to load ETH POW, right? Because this one is for ETH POW, right? And if you didn't do that, you'd add network and you would load up here. Bullish, can you share the official ETH-W Twitter, right? They have the RPC settings pinned as of yesterday in their tweet. So you would load it in here if you didn't already have it in your MetaMask. So once you get to this point, you can go through, click this, click the POW. Now we're on the correct network, right? Now it says ETH POW, and then I can select whatever token I want, and I could trade if I wanted to, right? And you could get in this way. So the same thing would work the front end for ETH-F. I don't remember what the front end for ETH-F is off the top of my head at this moment. I interacted with ETH-W and ETH-TF using, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to step out to just drop something off real quick. If anyone has any questions regarding specific ETH-F, ETH-W, I created a Telegram group. It is t.me/hex POW. T.me/hex POW. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Thank you. And you'll have links there to like RPC settings, the front ends, etc.
Awesome. Bullish is on top of it as usual. And there's one for ETH. I think, Bullish, did you do one for POW and one for ETF, or did you do a group one with both of them together?
On this one, you can talk about both. You can also talk about Maxi. You can talk about Hedron. You're not limited to talking only about Hex on one chain. We support both chains here.
Dope. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, did you share that? Let's make sure people can get that in the chat here. Here we go. Okay, so you guys, t.me/hex POW, right? But you have, it's just proof of work. So that's going to have ETW, ETHW, and ETF. It's going to have both of those in there. If you have any questions, it's going to have other people in this community in there as well to help answer those questions.
Yep, it was just created this morning. So, give me some time to add everything. But the most important links you need are already there. So just look at the pinned messages and you'll see most of the links there. And once we're done with the show, I'll spend more time in there getting everything updated.
Oh, Bullish, real quick. What is the front end for? Is there a Uniswap front end that Alex or Dip Capture has created for Uniswap on ETH-W yet?
Yes, that's going to be uniswap.hedron.pro. I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay,
as well.
So uniswap.hedron.pro works for
ETH-W.
W and F.
No, not F. So I need to ask him for F. So what I'll do is I'll just drop this in the chat. Basically, the links for both. But essentially, once Alex adds support for ETH-F on the Hedron site, then you'll be able to just use one for both. Okay,
and so that's going to be coming soon, guys. Thank you, Bullish. I appreciate that. Because I didn't remember what ETF.
What I'm dropping it right now in the chat. There we go.
Sweet, thank you. So if anybody's trying to interact with that one, so ETH-W is uniswap.hedron.pro. ETH-F is uniswap. Thank you for that. Uniswap.etherfair.org. So these are going to be the two front ends to interact with Uniswap, right? I've used both of these multiple different times. You can also go through and provide liquidity. And if you're not sure, like some of the nuances around that, you can check yesterday's video on my channel or GRC channel or the main channel. By the way, if you're not following the main channel, the CITM cast, right, you can go check out that channel. If you go to that link right there, We'll also have all the social up there too as we transition over to that channel in the coming days and or weeks. So let's dive back into this. Luna, good morning. See you. These regulations could test and show us what real crypto is. Yes, I reached out to a crypto lawyer who is on TikTok. He's a crypto lawyer. He works for, I don't know. He says I think does contract work for some firms that deal in crypto, to see if he wants to come on. I think having a conversation with a crypto lawyer who's like balls deep into this would probably be valuable. Well, I don't know if it's valuable for you guys. It's definitely gonna be valuable for me. And I know one thing about creating videos is that talking about things that are interesting to me, there tends to be at least some other people who find that shit interesting. Stuck in traffic and can't listen today. Have a great workout episode. You as well. Drive safely. There was a question down here. Sam, no LP, but doesn't know how to message on Twitter. You guys can message me on Twitter. There's a link down below. I have been spending a little bit of time every morning getting into my messages on Twitter. I do have an opportunity to expand on that. Got some. Okay, this is the question one I want to look at. I interacted with ETHW and ETHF using free coins only with Icosa app and Uniswap front end by Alex. Yes, so you can go through and stake those too. You can view your stakes. My thousands of dollars in ETH worth a few bucks on ETHW and ETHF. Why break even by buying POW and paying high transaction fees to exit? I'm not sure what you mean, sir, but you don't. They're actually super cheap on these networks. If you look at the function of how fees are paid on POW, right? It is based on the congestion in the network. So if you look at these networks and you look at the GWEI is extremely cheap, which is like the cost of these things. The way I like to explain this to somebody is at 4:30 p.m., if you have a 20-minute drive through the city, it's going to take you longer than it would if you did it at 5 a.m. in the morning, right? Well, that is similar to a crypto network. At busy times during the day, the cost is going to be much higher. Now, what happens when you transplant everybody from one network to another network, right? We have everybody on Ethereum, POW, and then we push all those people into POS. So what happens to these networks? They're still there. New people are flooding in every day, right? But the congestion isn't there. It's like that 5 o'clock traffic, cutting it down by 97%. And you're like, oh, wow. So easy to get to work. I don't have all this traffic, right? So it's actually really cheap. You should check it out and actually look for yourself if you're good, because clearly it seems like you haven't done that yet. In my opinion, right? You have free money over there. You can play around with it. You can even just get the dress rehearsal for PulseChain, even if you don't take money out or do anything. It's free money that you can just play with over there. Think about doing some LP on. Yeah, so we have an LP update in just a moment. AJ, thank you. Poor man. Ended a stake, minted perps, minted perpetuals, minted and staked Hedron on both, added LP on ETF. Whoa. Poor man. Thank you for sharing. If you guys don't like understand these networks or like think that they're going to be valuable in some way, shape, or form, whether we agree on that or don't agree on it, it's in your best interest if you support PulseChain to go through and do what I'm talking about, right? Like get onto these networks, put in the RPC settings, go test these things out and actually play with them. It's free money. This is free tokens. You can think of this as a test net, a dress rehearsal, right? For a wedding. When you have a wedding, you do a rehearsal the day before. Why do you do that? So everybody's on the same page. You get to understand what's actually going on. That's effectively what's happening right now for free. What do you think is going to happen with Pulse launches? This community is going to be able to absolutely freaking dominate because we'll be so, and people like Poor Man's Investing and myself and GRC and Bullish will all be ahead of the curve on this because we've done it multiple times. I'm taking out for 15 years on 3 chains, soon 4 chains. Hell yeah, Squid. What's up, Bugs? Good morning. Gas is cheap, so sending coins is cheap. Yes, sending coins is very, very cheap. If you're just sending from like your normal wallet to a new wallet you created, the cost of that is extremely cheap. The dude, there's money to be made. You snooze, you lose. Correct. Where do I swap ETH-W, ETH-F on those chains using MetaMask? We shared that uniswap.hedron.pro and uniswap.etherfair.org. Those are the 2 front ends there. That's okay. All right, girlfriend's like, there's a dog in the backyard. I'm trying to draw a visual diagram of the workflow of going from having 0 ETF and swapping it into HEX-W or HEX-F. So let's do this. Let me pull up a little chart here and see if we can get this before we get into the LP settings here, so that hopefully this is helpful in how people can visualize what's actually going on here. So we're going to pull up a little whiteboard here to go through this. Okay, so we have mainnet, right? So I'm just going to use this as where we currently are, right? And then we have W here and we have F here, right? These are also networks, right? So you don't have to bring money into each one of these, right? There's no need to do that unless you want to, right? I have done this with both of these networks. I am not saying that this is a good idea. I'm not saying you're not going to, you may not make your money back. You may lose your money. I don't know. This is what I chose to do because that tiny bit could have multiple like tens of X's on it, right? If Hex even just goes to, and I've already made my money back, right? If Hex goes up in price, right? And I have a thought on, I don't think Hex is going to actually go up into price anytime soon. And I can explain that in more detail in a minute. But if you wanted to bring money over these, you got to go through an exchange to do that. So let's close both of these things out. So in order to get money into both of these things, you have to go through some type of intermediary, right? So a centralized exchange is what I used, right? So you come bring in, say, I brought in Tether. So we brought in Tether here. And then once I had Tether, I could swap into W. Well, actually not like that. I would swap into W, right? So then I have W or I have F, right? So I can get into whatever I want. And then from there, I can take this to the DEX for either one of these. This is kind of how you can visualize this. So this is going to be uniswap.hedron.pro. This is going to be uniswap.etherfair.org. And I can swap into Hex from here, right? So then I can get my Hex W. Yeah, we'll just call this HW here. And we'll call this HF here. Like, holy fuck. Right? And you can get into that, or you can also get into Hedron through the same fashion. I'm not saying you need to do this now. If somebody wanted to go through and just not bring any new money in, but they just wanted to play with their free tokens, let's show you. So all you have to do, so say if your address is XXX, right? Then you first go through and you do your RPC settings, right? We've talked about this. Bullish shared one in the chat. So you can go to the Telegram t.me /hex POW, POW, hex POW. You can search for that on there. You got to put in your RPC settings. You're going to have RPC settings for W, and you're going to have different RPC settings for ETH Fair. Once you put in those RPC settings into your MetaMask, then you'll be able to look at your XXX address on this chain once you put those settings in, and on this chain. Now, this is not going to show you Hex in there. So then you have to take Hex contract address from Etherscan, because it's the same contract address, take that and put that into MetaMask to load those tokens. Then you'll be able to take your free tokens, right? So there's multiple different ways to play this depending on how you want to do this. So hopefully that was helpful, brother. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you, sir. Appreciate all the educating you guys are doing. I'm on all 3 chains, LPing. Can't wait for PulseChain. Dope. Hell yes. If you guys want to learn about LP, one of the things that we've talked about Richard Heart saying is that you get, the people get wealthy in 3 different ways, right? By holding shit for a very long time. Agree, right? Building something, right? Cool. Completely agree there. And owning the exchange or the marketplace. So what happens? You can't own Coinbase. Well, you could, but it's not exactly the same thing. You're not getting the cash flow from it. But when you go through and provide liquidity, you're effectively becoming the exchange and you're earning the fees from other people trading, right? That's what people who listen to Richard Heart, that's what he says. What are the chances that Pulse is a fork of ETHW versus ETH? Oh, that is a fantastic question. Highly unlikely. Because I think Richard Hart's going to want to fork wherever the most people are, right, to get the most attention. And I think that's probably going to have the most people on POS, unless the SEC really starts to crack down and try to regulate things very quickly, which I don't necessarily see that happening. But it is possible. Now, let's cover HEX real quick. I don't think HEX is going to necessarily accelerate in price. And you get to see this morning, it was 2 cents, 2.9 cents. Why is this happening? Oops. Because if you look at HEX and you like HEX, you can now purchase HEX on 3 different networks, soon to be 4 different networks. Functions the same way, right? A hammer is a hammer is a hammer, right? So you can buy HEX for 3 cents, or you can buy HEX for 2 zeros and a 1, right? So 1/10 of a penny or 3 pennies. I don't know. You decide whatever one you want to do, right? And this is on both of these other networks. You can still go through and stake that shit. It's still going to earn trustless interest, right? You can still put it in ICOSA. You can still create an HSI and sell it. You can do all of that stuff, right? None of it doesn't work. So what do you think some people are doing at this moment in time? They're taking that extra cash, right? I did it. Bullish did it. GRC did it. And when I'm not saying that you should do any of the things that we're talking about, you should use this and think for yourself whether it's a good idea or not, right? But I took money that I probably would have left in POS, purchasing HEX or Maxi, or I probably would have talked about got Hedron, which will give an update on Hedron's adoption shortly. But now I took that and I put it into these other networks. So that decreases demand, which you're going to see this in a second. It decreases when you look at the numbers. It decreases demand for HEX because those dollars are flowing away. So how long will this take? I don't know. I personally, if we lay out the assumption that, say, HEX is HEX no matter where it is, and it's going to continue to work whether there's not a lot of people on the chain or a lot of people on the chain, then there's always going to be, you would think, there's always going to be some demand, right? People still use Ethereum Classic. I think both of these ETHW and ETH are going to be more popular than that. If that's the case, then is HEX going to accelerate in price if it's not parity on both of these other chains or close to parity on these other chains? I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think HEX on mainnet is going to get to the same price, is going to be able to accelerate versus these other 2 chains? I don't know. I think there's a lot of attention, which is adoption, right? Money follows attention, and there's a lot of attention on W, and there's a lot of attention on F. And these are going to be continuing to suck eyeballs for a while now, especially with this price differential between these 2 networks, where you can pick up shit for a fraction of the cost, right? If you want 10,000 HEX on one side and it costs you, $175, you could pick up the same 10,000 for $6 on the other, on a different chain, right? And you're like, okay, I can still earn trustless yield. Perfectly fine with me. So I don't see HEX accelerating in price until we have either parity on these other chains or one of them dies or they both die, which I don't personally see happening. like to hear what your thoughts are. Now let's get into some LP numbers, right? And an update on HEX, right? So this is going to still be related to the conversation we were just having. Go ahead, Bullish.
Actually, this is perfect because someone in the group was asking me if you can break down that Excel sheet that you tweeted out about 45 minutes ago. So I guess you're getting into that now.
Oh yeah, perfect timing. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. Let's zoom into one part of it at a time so that people can. There we go. So this here, what we're going to take a look at first. This is the HEX pairs on ETHW or ETHF. So when you understand liquidity, just because the liquidity is increasing does not necessarily mean it's going to be, you won't be able to exit very advantageously, because a lot of the liquidity can be tied up in pairs where you couldn't necessarily exit. But the bigger the liquidity, the bigger the spider web you can think of, right? Because this is HEX, Maxi HEX, Hedron, but both of those pairs in V3 pools, and there's 4 pools for, say, HEX Hedron, right? HEX Hedron has 4 pools on V3. You're like, what? Yeah, there's 3 different tier structures, so there's 3 different pools of HEX Hedron on V3. But then you have V2, right? And then you have HEX Ethereum on both of those chains, right? So when you look at these numbers and you add up all of them, what you get to see is since the 17th to today, which is 5 days later, the amount of LP, the amount of liquidity on ETHW has gone up drastically, right? It's a 300% increase nearly. I just started tracking this, 45 minutes ago. There's 75,000 on ETHF. And remember, limited liquidity can be a very, very good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? As RH has said many, many times, that can be a good thing. So that's what this is. I will continue tracking this. If you guys are not following me on Twitter, jump down to Twitter. Whenever I update this, and this is from all of the top 100 pairs on Dex Screener. So I'll go through the top 100 pairs trading on these 2 networks and compare these. Now, let's take a look at I'm measuring this as adoption, right? So this is the number of holders on Etherscan. So if you go to Etherscan and you click on that Hedron contract, you'll be able to see how many holders. This is addresses that own Hedron. So maybe I have 6 addresses that own Hedron, right? That's perfectly fine. It's the number of this that we're tracking here. You get to see that since the end of last month, August 28th, these were the numbers for HEX and Hedron. As of this morning, right, we have a 0.5% growth, right, for HEX during this time period. Let's actually take a look at the absolute numbers, because that might be an interesting story too. So 1,500 new holders for HEX during less than a month period of time versus 1,500 for Hedron. And you're like, okay, so they're growing at about the same growth rate. However, the base, this number, is substantially smaller for Hedron. Remember, if you think about opportunity, you can think about the ratio of people in something versus the ratio of people not in something. There's a lot less people with Hedron. It means there's potentially a lot bigger opportunity there. And what do we know that is going to help drive demand for? Love you, honey. What do we know is going to drive my bags up? Other people buying, demand, right? And even during this time period, the absolute number, which this is funny because it doesn't always play out with percentages. Hedron's growing faster in terms of absolute numbers as well as the percentage. They're going 15x faster than HEX is, right, over the past month. That's pretty bullish to me, right? That's pretty bullish. Now, how can you gauge whether this could continue or demand's going to continue to ramp up? In my opinion, I think a good metric to take a look at is the HSIs, right? That's the HEX that is encapsulated and staked through Hedron.pro. and sold to the ICOSA contract. Well, if you look at this, this continues to climb, right? During this time period, from when I started tracking on the 8th of this month until the 22nd this morning, we've had a 500 additional HSIs that were sold to this contract. That's a lot. That's growing. That is bullish for Hedron. I'm very bullish for Hedron on this moving forward, just because I think a lot of people are not paying attention to this. There's a very myopic view in the markets. This is why it's so easy to win if you just think slightly longer than the average. Myopic is just a fancy word for saying short-sightedness. So people are very short-sighted, right? And if you think just longer than the average person does, which is very short-term, so it's not hard to do, you can put yourself in about a month and a half from now, a little bit over a month and a half to mid-November, when these HSIs start coming up for auction. There's going to be a boatload of opportunity from multiple different ways. And this is how I'm thinking about playing this. I wasn't personally going to buy any HSIs on mainnet Ethereum, right? I was going to let that to everybody else who wants to do that kind of thing, right? But now we have two other networks. On both of those networks, there's more HSIs to buy, right? So what I might do, we'll play this out by numbers here. And we will have to continue to track this to understand if there's going to be adoption on ETH-F and adoption on ETH-W, and is the liquidity on both of those continuing to grow. But this is how I'm thinking about playing it. If on mainnet you have $1,000 HEX stake that is an HSI that is sold to ICOSA that is now coming up for auction, there's the possibility you can buy that HSI stake on mainnet for a little bit of a discount. The possibility is there. On ETH-F, on ETH-W, that same stake, $1,000 HEX stake, on either one of those networks, the probability that you will be able to purchase HSIs for a fraction of this. And we're going to walk through this example because the HEX is not the same price over there, right? So you buy these HSI stakes that say we're $1,000 on mainnet, but now because the price of them is 10x, they're $100, right? So you have this $100 stake, right? But instead of picking it up for, say, on the mainnet, it's $1,000 and you pick it up for, say, $800 or $900, right? You still get a little bit of a discount. Well, because it's so low on these other chains, there's the possibility where you could take a $100 HEX stake and pick it up for $1 or $2, take that HSI, sell it to ICOSA for $14 or $18 or $36 or $100 or close to $100, and repeat the process again, right? Because there's not going to be as many people paying attention on either one of these other chains here. There's not going to be a lot of people over on ETH-W trying to buy these HSIs. There's not going to be a lot of people on ETH-F trying to buy these HSIs, which means that I might be able to pick them up at instead of a 10% discount on mainnet, a 90% discount on these other networks. So we actually have a quick interruption here where we're going to bring in a special guest here. So see you in a second. There he is, looking sharp. What's good, bro?
PP token.
PP token. I have no idea what that is. What is it?
You know Hex. It's a meme token, but it's a friend of ours. God, I can't remember his tag, but he sent me this shirt for his meme token, PP token somewhere.
Well, we've been covering some interesting stuff here. We're just about to get into, somebody on CNBC had mentioned that there's going to be billions of people in crypto. So I wanted to play this video and then we can talk about it.
Make sure you tell them only to buy Hex on one chain because the code's not the same on all the chains. You know? It doesn't produce yield over on the other chain.
Is there any way to fundamentally or using fundamentals to explain the action in crypto?
Well, I do think crypto did get caught up in the global macro sell-off of all asset classes. And then there was a bit of excess leverage in the system through May and June. I think most of that's been worked out. And in the next few months, crypto can start trading independently of risk assets.
We have had it posited that both gold and crypto, the scarcity, the dollar devaluation worries that we see when the Fed is in emergency mode, where we were either during the financial crisis, and some would say continued all the way through the pandemic, that all that dollar printing is bullish for things like Bitcoin and gold. And when the Fed is in tightening mode, that obviously that the second derivative has changed. We're headed the other way. And just by definition, people start. So, I mean, Dan, it's down, Bitcoin's down from over 60,000 to 18,000. I mean, or 19,000. You need to be prepared. Some stocks do that too. I think Zoom's down more than that.
This guy on the bottom is really smart.
You know, obviously it's hard to just assign a clear value to crypto.
Yeah, I think the important thing to keep in mind here is crypto is such a disruptive thing that's going to change so many aspects of our lives over the next couple of decades. It's in a secular bull market, and it does occasionally get caught up in these cyclical downdrafts of risk assets. But I can easily see a world a few years from now where risk assets themselves might be still struggling, but blockchain's back to all-time highs and doing its own thing.
Did you hear that? Right? Let's replay that.
Yeah, and he's basically saying that he thinks the user adoption is going to be so great in crypto that it really makes no effing difference what the hell happens. Maybe not for Bitcoin, though. I'll fill that in for him just because, you know, he's not going to talk about every little nuance point.
This is interesting because he's saying they're going to decorrelate.
Imagine if they had HEXW on there, it would blow off the chart. It would be like plus 897%. Where are these gains coming from?
That would be, I think it's just going to be a matter of time before some of these other places start to pick it up.
I wonder if this guy knows much about buying low liquidity assets. Like, I wonder if he ever ended up in that area of his life, because he might not have. Like, I'm saying, like, when he was young, too. Like, I wonder how they kind of moved through it, because they might have just had it, like, understood, and then they said, okay, we got to move this way. But now, he's just telling you right now. He is telling you right now you can move different and make money. He just told you that. He just said in 2 or 3 years, crypto's making all-time highs. If you want to look at all the charts from all the recessions and depressions, we can tell you that we could be down for 2 years, possibly. But crypto zero liquidity assets, they can't stay down. And I say that all the time. I swear, I scream it about the hilltops. And that's why I wasn't DCAing so heavily into HEX over this bear market. Why, Sam? Because it's a heavy enough asset where it's going to get tied down to whatever the financial news is.
Well, so real quick and then I want to play the rest of this. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I don't think HEX on mainnet is going to accelerate in price. And the reason
I think it'll drop until it goes parity with the other three.
That's exactly what I said.
I think it has to mathematically, like literally. Like, because listen, we're so close on the downside already. We already did 100x when it was at the height. 100x would be parity for the ETH chain of HEX on each. Think about what happens when these Ethereums blow up. Think about the amount of economic energy. Can you pull up the ETH trading volume, Sam? Just the ETH, because I want people to know how many millions of dollars are getting sent around the internet right now. And it's not all on HEX, but I like to reference it from the native token, because that's where all the trading pairs come from. Yes, I think they'll all, but that's the thing, Sam, the future can change, right? So I don't know if there's going to be 2 more forks that I trust, or if there's going to be one of these, but proof of work, proof of work's growing on me. I'll tell you.
With all this opportunity, I mean, there's loads of money flowing around on the wrapped ETH on POW or ETH on POW in either version. Like, there's massive amounts. I wouldn't be surprised if I personally, I'm not saying anybody else should do as I do, but I wouldn't be surprised if I transfer some more money in there.
Can you stick around after the show in the green room for 20, 30? Or do you
Yeah,
gotta-
I have something at 12:30. I've got a call at 12:30.
I'm gonna get my computer out and start sending some money from some credit cards to crypto because I don't want to spend the money.
Be careful what you say.
I'm
You're gonna get
joking.
a lot of
I
hate.
just wanted my mom and dad to freak out or something if they were watching. I will never do that.
So
Oh,
let's get back.
And I
into-
watched this live yesterday with Tangent, by the way. We were sitting here chilling, watching. I streamed with Tangent last night, and we talked. I got them all back on ETH. I just brought him on the show and told him ETH is gangster. They're all gangster. It's all good.
And there's a lot less liquidity on ETH, so that could be the play right now.
Right
I don't
now.
know.
Right.
I'm not right. No fucking financial advice.
Dude,
Could
Sam,
be
for
play.
$6 last night before I went to bed, because I was doing the spreadsheet in my head, $6 on this chain on ETHW got you 4,300 hex. $6 on the other chain got you 12,000 hex. So, but that's still awesome. Close. I bought millions of all these hexes. This is legit.
And then on mainnet, $6 gets you diddly squat, right? You get 300 hex or something. You know,
75% diluted at over 365 days and get perma wrecked.
yeah. Let's see. 300 for $6 divided by 3 cents. You get 200 hex. You get 200 hex versus thousands and then double thousands.
And I pulled $1,500 out of it, which isn't a lot, so I'm not afraid to say it because I just wanted enough to be like, you know, I did something. You know, I wanted to feel like I was working. So I pulled some money out so I could be like, yes, Scott, you're working. Check box.
And you took the money out, and now you're like,
but
okay,
it's
good.
my PayPal.
Yeah. So let
Crypto
let's-
to PayPal. MEXC to PayPal is lit.
Oh, I didn't try the MEX to PayPal yet. I haven't.
Oh,
tried
I
that.
mean,
gotta-
I don't know
gotta-
if I think I did Coinbase. I
gotta-
think
gotta-
I just go MEX to Coinbase. I'm a centralized guy now. I don't stay. I don't protect my crypto.
So you don't leave it there. All right, let's
No,
get
I
back
leave it in
into
there
this.
for only 10 minutes at a time, if that.
Let's get back into this, dude.
Yes, please.
Dan Moorhead.
It's in a secular bull market, and it does occasionally get caught up in these cyclical downdrafts of risk assets. But I can easily see a world a few years from now where risk assets themselves might be still struggling, but blockchain's back to all-time highs and doing its own thing based on its own fundamentals. And that story is hundreds of millions of people use blockchain today. I think in 4 or 5 years, it's going to be literally billions of people. And the way to value things is supply and demand. If you have 1 billion people that want to buy a fixed number of coins, the price probably goes up.
So in the meantime, what do you hear in terms of the regulatory landscape in the United States, for example? And how do you prepare for that? Gary Gensler's not going to be there forever. I don't, neither.
Can you pause that for 1 second? And
the
I'm going
Senate
to
and the House, who
mention
knows?
something about, because we watched a lot of videos on this type of stuff yesterday, and I want to mention it. The only variable here, guys, the reason we like trustless, immutable crypto is because they will try everything to make sure that all of this stuff is wrecked. So what do people do? Like Richard and like Vitalik, they're very smart with it. So they make immutable situations on some of or that's what the future that they hope for. Of course, there's nuance in politics and the Ethereum Foundation and all sorts of things. But it's just, my whole point is the reason we're so attached to these assets, the reason we rubber band to them so quick is because all they do is produce yield. And that is the second most popular thing at the bank. So we have a native token, which can just be your savings account, sure, or whatever. And then we have some sort of yield bearing account. And but this one, no one knows about. There's no liquidity and it has no sell floor because there's no one there. There's no money.
I just thought of this this is probably a little bit different this, but the parity argument between the three of them, right? We have 3 different hexes. I think the parity is definitely, whether it's money flowing out of this network or money flowing into those networks. There's also, somebody was sharing with me the other day, there's a big amount of hexed stake that comes out, I think, early November. I haven't verified it myself, but I did look at HexVision or Hex.vision very briefly, but I didn't look at the addresses or anything. And there's going to be a boatload of hex coming out. So what does that happen? Those people are going to take some profits, right? They're going to sell some, especially if it's billions of dollars of hex, even at just 1% being sold. That's going to drive down the price. People are going to get more excited about parity. I don't know. It could be very interesting.
I think it could happen within moments. Like, I think it won't even be like
it'll be like one person does something and then everybody's like, oh, fuck.
Like by the end of the day, it's like pretty much trading close. Like it'll be, unless it's like completely AMM bot, but even just naturally between the hexagons, just like ETF and ETW, like I can every day I watch those two numbers get more close to parity. Like remember I bought 2 million hex on the ETF chain, I think for like $50 or $100. And now it's 12,000 hex for $6. So if you do that by 10, yeah, so it's made moves on the upside, while the other one has made moves a little bit slower. And while ETH hex has continued to dip and continued, why did we say ETH hex can go to 1 cent? Because there were people there when buying it at 1 cent. And that's why no one was buying hex, the other one, at 1 cent, because it never existed at that premium. So when you look at the chart for hex and there's 1 cent sitting there and there's a couple guys that spent $1 million USD DCAing to buy at 1 cent, they're not afraid to sell half of it because they don't want to be down for another year and a half or whatever the reason that they have is. Or they'll provide liquidity between whatever, ETH and Bitcoin, because it's all going to, whatever they do. Something that, and then there's Richard in the OA. And people can say whatever they want about Richard in the OA. Hex is Richard's baby. Richard taught us about parity on other chains. Richard taught us why these things will become the same price already. He taught us. He said PulseChain, and he thinks Hex and PulseChain will go to parity, on that side. So
on that note, though, I think somebody in this community who knows about this type of stuff, if they want to accelerate Hex, right? If they want to accelerate the brand of Hex, if they want to accelerate the parity, narrative across the three chains, creating a bridge where somebody can bridge in Hex of one side and get Hex on the other side of W or Hex on the other side of F. I think that could be a very, very interesting play. If somebody could do that, and that would help in the process. It has to be trustless, though, because it can't be any of these garbage bridges.
I want to dive into this too. Hex hit parity on Matic when it launched on Matic. I remember when people were buying Hex on Matic, but I had no idea what was going on yet. Back in the day, Sam, there was 2 ways to buy Hex, and I was too new to experiment. Like, how I tell people in the chat if they're not super comfortable behind the keys, just to kind of keep it on vacay mode. And I was keeping it on vacay mode, but I saw people going over to Matic because the fees, Sam,
were way cheaper.
There was no fees. There were literally almost negligible fees. So, and I remember thinking in my head, that's interesting, but that's scary. I don't want to do that.
Well,
but now I see why, and those things hit parity. So I'm going to study that. After this show, I am going to look at that. It's a little bit different, slightly different though, because on stake.
Yep, and because
why can't we build a front end?
Well, it wasn't. It was just bridged in, where these are just copy system state over. So it's a little bit different, but it is parity over there. And a lot of people don't understand that nuance, right? So I do think that there will be parity. Think about the rate differential. Even if it's slow to pull money out, if I can lock up and earn 100% by staking on one chain because the prices are so low and there's not as much demand versus on another chain. I just checked my stake from 9 months ago, right? 9 months ago, right? On the website, it still says 38%. My stake from 9 months ago is not earning 38%. It's earning 30% or 31%, right? Just over 31%, 31.22%. Still fucking awesome. Not anywhere near 38%, guys. And if you look at the yield on these other chains, it's probably going to be substantially higher because there's less people in those markets. So if I can earn 68% over here and earn 31% over here, I think I'll go over here, right? I'm going to earn more money over here. So
I talked to the ETF team yesterday personally, and we have a little 5-person group that they somehow let GRC in. Guys, Don't ask the big man upstairs. I just asked them if I could join the group, so they said yes. But they said we have 3 bridges in the work. We're going to push one of them. So they have 3. And Hex Tangent came on here and he said Hex Pow has so much more adoption. And I said, guys, 3 days. We've been in this for 3 days. Everyone has different strategies on how that they're going to go about mass adoption. And they're both supportive of each other for the most part too. Like, you know, like these guys, I feel, see this as an opportunity, less as a competition situation. I don't know.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah. You probably missed out, but we officially have t.me/HEXPOW.
Hey, get wrecked, fam.
And we're supporting both chains, and we're allowed to talk about Hex, the Maxi ecosystem, and the Hedron ecosystem.
And mainnet W and F.
ETF.
Yeah.
Can you do a Hex F buy bot? Is that possible?
Like
For Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm actually working on it. So, dude, come on, bro, don't give out all the spill all the tea. I'm still building it, but yeah, you saw the conversation I had with Dibcatcher. So Dibcatcher gave me all the alpha. So we're gonna have bots set up on Twitter to start tweeting out when, you know, there's buys, stakes, and all that stuff for the 3, you know, pretty much positive feedback loop that we have. We're gonna start promoting that on both chains on Twitter as well.
We in this right, like the people who are watching, right? This is the subset of the Hex community, but the 3 of us and everybody who's watching or will watch this, we can be the ones who drive parity, right? Because we have influence. There's 123 people watching, and every single one of these people knows somebody else in crypto, or 2 other people in crypto, or 4 other people in crypto, and can help drive adoption so that they do get to parity, right?
And a lot of these whales are going to want their money. So understand that too. Like, maybe not whales. Whales might be the wrong verbiage, but a lot of these guys that I know that have millions, maybe not hundreds or maybe not tens of, maybe 1 or 2 or 500,000 or $2.1 million in their account total. Those guys would like to have money. So they will provide LP/dump on that side, which is good. Because me and Sam are patient. We don't care if the thing goes 300% tomorrow. I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
We don't. Literal shits.
And I'm pretty much gonna like read verbatim something I wrote in the Telegram group. So the opportunity of Hex on all chains is that we get people in the system to promote PulseChain. Those who missed out will want to get in on day 1, just like they did with ETHW and ETHF. This is the best onboarding tool we have right now, in my opinion. It also doesn't hurt that we have, you know, bags on 4 chains when PLS launches. We can onboard, educate, and then add more advocates to our ecosystem. Because the last thing I want is for a new Hexican to come excited to join the community, only be told that is fake Hex, because it works the same way on all chains. So let's rise to the occasion. Let's get, you know, all these chains popping. Let's use it as like the ultimate onboarding tool before PulseChain launches, because all it's gonna do is create buy pressure.
And that's a great point, Bullish. What do we know about like how things work in the world? The people that have the most money tend to control things. Well, what happens when Hex is parity, right? This community is the richest community in crypto, because now we just did that. And
the most isolated too, like within that volume, because like Binance and stuff's a little bit more of like a wild west, but there's a lot of money.
Oh, so we're not as isolated as what you're saying. We're not.
I think we're more isolated, but have more money per user, if that makes sense. Like, I think more guys like me and you could make a difference. Where it comes, like, I could dump these charts a little bit. I could, you know, maybe not a lot, but the thing is,
flooding them, we
have a chance to show people early and gain some intellectual integrity. And that's where the risk comes in, because telling you guys about parity, telling you guys about things, this is all speculative. Someone could come out with something tomorrow that I would have to cover, and the words might change that come out of my mouth. But the truth is, I believe this guy at the bottom, I have not a clue who he is, but I want to ask him questions because he is a smart, and he's saying things with a nice tone of voice, telling you the truth. He says crypto could decouple because it's light enough, and that the economic energy is on a negative swing. And crypto got caught up in that. But how long can crypto stay caught up in that when there's no liquidity, Sam? How low? can we go? As what I like to say. And this is what is so interesting about all this. There's a couple big brains up in this chat. Sith Master, Dante, PC, blockchain is the real life multiverse. Apex is so bullish on parity. We got smart guys in this chat. RH is wrong. The best video game on the net isn't PLS testnet. It's ETHW, ETHF because the gains are real. What about RuneScape 3? Still running?
I know nothing about setting price ranges when LPing. Can you, Sam DRC, talk about it in a bit, please?
We can cover that tomorrow.
Perfect. Let's cover that tomorrow, Danny. 11 a.m. EST. Set the little bell notification. I've done it before, so I can talk about it tomorrow morning. We're gonna finish this video and then we're gonna wrap things up here.
And I'm gonna be streaming at 1 o'clock, guys. 1 o'clock, I'll be streaming. So you just if you want some more content, you just wait for 1 o'clock.
For example, and how do you prepare for that? Gary Gensler's not going to be there forever. I don't, neither, the makeup of the Senate and the House, who knows? But what do you expect down the road? Is it positive that we get some, we finally understand exactly what regulation looks like, or is it going to be detrimental to crypto when it finally comes?
Well, you have to view it as a glass 7/8 full. 7 out of the 8 big agencies in the U.S. have already ruled on crypto, and they ruled quite early. Some, like the IRS, ruled in 2013, and all those rulings are literally the best possible rulings. So the only one left is the SEC. It would be helpful if they gave more guidance on what is a security and what is not a security, and hopefully within the next year or so that will come out.
Do you foresee any, if we were to test more lows, are we going to see a systemic issue with some companies? Are they on the edge right now? Won't mention any names, but there's a lot of people that are leveraged to crypto, a lot of companies.
Yeah, my sense from having traded cycles for 35 years, we're pretty much through the worst of it. That was 4 months ago that some of the
35 years of trading cycles, Christ.
And when you have a market go down 75, 80%, you add any leverage on that, it's going to be tough. And so I think most of that has already washed out. And a really important point is, we all are used to using Bitcoin as a proxy for blockchain. There are hundreds of
who's used to that? Used to that.
Everybody uses Bitcoin as a proxy.
And when you say proxy, what is that?
Just like they talk about the stock market as S&P 500.
So it's just like their point of reference.
Yes, exactly.
Bitcoin as a proxy for blockchain. There are hundreds of really interesting projects, and a lot of them are rallying and have done quite well. And a cool stat is the percentage of our entire market, which is not Bitcoin or Ethereum, hit a record yesterday at 43%.
Interesting.
And over the last,
that's a very interesting little stat there. The percentage of coins that are not Bitcoin or Ethereum hit an all-time high. This video came out yesterday. Let's listen to this one more time.
Have done quite well. And a cool stat is the percentage of our entire market, which is not Bitcoin or Ethereum, hit a record yesterday at 43%. And over the last 5 years, the average of that was 20. So that's really the story as well. Bitcoin and Ethereum, are just a bit off their lows. There are a lot of cool projects like Near, Uniswap, 1inch that are way above their lows.
Holy smokes. Did he just mention Uniswap and 1inch?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy knows exactly what the hell he's talking about. Exactly. Holy shit. This guy knows what he's talking about. Traded cycles for 35 years and still emotional fitness is what he screams. Like he doesn't give a shit. Like he doesn't care. He knows what's going to happen with the market. Sam, can I show you a bullish chart that I haven't been kind of bullish on real quick? So there's this chart here. I don't know why.
Can you lower the white part at the bottom? If you grab in the middle, you should be able to drop down like the trades below on the bottom half. No, the other.
How do you drop that down?
So see right there, right where the intersection is, there's a little arrow in the middle of that white chart.
Oh, I see.
Grab that and pull it down.
Oh, fantastic. I've been waiting for that. Hey, but if you do look down here, guys, look at you'll see a lot of green, Sam. Tell me if you notice a lot of, Tell me if you notice a lot of green in the buy section.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see some
green,
red. Now, if you go to a lot of the other pairs, you're going to see mostly red in smaller amounts, not too many buys. So we have here POW to W ETH here. This is like the third highest traded volume on there, and it's the swap, PAL swap. So I haven't looked into any of it yet, and I don't know if it's just a duct tape token, but I have a feeling since we're getting a little further into DeFi that they'll have rewards.
So this is great preview. Thanks for bringing this up. I have them in my chat on Twitter, and
look how low it is, Sam. Look how low it is close to where it launched.
What's the date there at the bottom? When did this PAL launch?
16 on the 16th, probably day one.
Okay, so
probably on the block height. They probably were planning on this. So this is the one that's rising up the ranks. As far as clearly there was some crazy price action. Now Hex held this price action. You know, like if you so we'll go to PAL, but we know Hex is a different animal. So we'll go over to click to that. And then let's check this chart out really quick, just for the people that haven't seen the chart that we were buying.
I just messaged them. We might be able to have them on the show tomorrow morning, the guys from POW Swap.
So what's different about this chart, Sam? It didn't have that initial downturn because the Hexicans are so violently aware. They're so violently aware that this floor just couldn't exist. It just could not. When we were buying here and like right here, when it was wrecking down again, Hex could not go lower than this at the time because there's nothing to sell. There's no money to sell. This is nothing, but the buys are worth a lot of the total circulating supply. That's why, look at this. This is a beautiful chart. I mean, it's really, really is. Like, this is what PulseChain is going to look like, guys. And I'm saying that. I'm not saying it won't dump or pump right off the jump. But when things start at a valuation of 0, you're getting a fucking 101 college course right now on things that start from 0. Pay attention, because this is your future on PulseChain. And there will be time to buy this on PulseChain. I don't care what anyone says. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. They'll all forget. They'll all be eating cookies while I'm fucking buying this shit. Okay? So, but PulseChain will present the same opportunity. Sam, it begs the question, how much liquid hex do you want to buy on the ETH chain when you could just buy P hex on the other chain for pennies on the dollar on the first 3 or 4 days? How much USD do you really want to buy before the fork? You know, I would say minimal, if any, because on ETH, the Ethereum chain, you're getting so little.
Highlight that, because everybody's going to say you're funding Hex, but I believe you're actually not funding Hex. You're just telling the truth. Like,
well, Richard taught me about low liquidity assets with product market fit. And he said that's the best time to buy. The best time to buy in when there's no trading pairs. The best time to buy in is when no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
But what you're describing is what we see happen in the real world. When you come out, not so much now, but you used to be able to track this. When a new iPhone would come out, the months leading up to, you know that it's coming out on September fucking 30th, right? You know a new iPhone's coming out. So what do people do? They don't buy throughout the month of September, and they potentially don't buy in the month of August unless they need a new iPhone, right? So what do? They wait. And then they buy the brand new iPhone. So what do you think is going to happen to Hex in the lead up to Pulse? People probably won't buy Hex, right? On ETH main, because why would you do that if you can get it for pennies on the freaking dollar? Just like on these other chains, right? That's what you're saying. And I agree with that. It's a fantastic point. We'll wrap things up here, and then we can get a jamming show tomorrow.
So guys, I'm going to show you at 1 o'clock all the stuff I've been learning. I'm going to do some work with my team for the next 30 minutes, and then come back on here and show you guys some of these trading pairs and look through it, because I slept in this morning. So I'm just going to be looking through stuff, playing around, doing a solo stream, answering questions, and seeing about PAL swap, seeing about some of these new bridges, seeing about some of all this stuff that's coming out, maybe getting someone from the team on or somebody. We'll be talking about it all. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, guys. I'm almost at 10,000 followers on Twitter, so make sure you go over there and follow, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern, guys. You can buy your Hex on ETH and get your PulseChain copy. Yeah, or you can just buy on PulseChain when it launches. Either one.
Correct. Or there might be that is a very interesting take right there.
You can also make gains on POW and bring profits into PLS as yes, that's like Hedron, right? Like for a while, that's what Hedron was doing. You know, people were going into the lower liquidity asset with the same product market fit, and it was actually holding some trade activity together. Sam, you were looking up the amount of users that were using before the forks that were using Hedron, buying Hedron, interacting with Hedron, and it was largely outweighing the numbers of the people that were joining the Hex ecosystem.
Bro, I covered that at the beginning of the show before you came on. 15x, still 15x over the last month almost.
And does it make nothing but perfect sense to you?
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
No, it makes nothing. It's literally as logical as like a 5 + 5 to me, because people have brains and we're in a bear market.
But
why am I going to make long-term investment plays for the future in a bear market where they're saying we could have 3 more months, 6 more months, 8 more months in a technology where if you're locked into a smart contract, so much stuff goes on. I know so many guys that have missed out on tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars because they're too afraid to interact with their staking contracts because they're not studied and they don't know what the fuck is going on. And they think that if you connect to every website, your bank account goes to zero. And it's not the fucking truth. You get scammed by fucking airdrop links. You get scammed by bridges that you keep all your money on. You have to teach people the nuance. If you keep all your stuff on MEXC for 4 minutes and 37 seconds, you're not going to run into too many problems unless it goes down in that 4 minutes and whatever. Like, that's why we send $150, $200, $100 at a time, because we're smart and we don't want to over leverage ourselves. But I will not live in a world where I'm afraid to open my computer to interact with my crypto. Period. That's wrecked. I want LP. I want free coins. I want money and all of the opportunities that come with early adoption. Because trust me, I'm dealing with the hard end of it. I'm doing all the learning, and I have to fight all the, me and Sam generally say the exact right thing. And then about 4 or 6 days later, everyone else will start doing the same, like saying the same exact thing. But in those 6 days, that's where the real opportunity is, because once the big guys start saying it's good, they usually figured it out. And so we just tell you right when we know, because we have intellectual credibility. But let's go on. Crypto in the morning, DeFi proof. I mean, let's go, guys. Everyone have a great day. Sam, I'll see you in a minute.
Peace.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking no blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some hydro, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. GymRatCrypto sent me to show you the way.